Merhaba and welcome. Welcome to the seminar today where we will be looking at how to unlock the potential of various technologies, 5G, cloud, edge computing, artificial intelligence, and other exciting technologies. And understanding how these technologies will enable the digital transformation of industry and society in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This year leap inspires us to leap into new worlds. And what is this about? It's about new ideas, new innovations, new partnerships and collaboration, and most importantly, a new age of leader to lead us and the potential as well as limitless possibilities of technology to build a bright, positive, and sustainable future. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia today is undergoing a massive transformation, led by the 2030 vision. And digitization is happening across tens of sectors. In today's talk, we would like to take an order of magnitude approach and focus on the top sectors that will bring the most benefit, biggest growth, and have the largest impact. Welcome again. I'm Randhir Bikraj. I'm the CIO, Cloud Software and Services for Middle East and Africa at Ericsson. And I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Strategy Principal, Mr. Ahmed Ijaz. Over to you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Randy. Hello and welcome, everyone, for gathering on this auspicious and very fortunate occasion and a pivotal moment in Saudi's journey for transformation. My name is Ahmed Ijaz, and I'm a strategy principal with Ericsson in Middle East and Africa. We help government entities, technology companies, service providers with making strategic choices and also impart the necessary capabilities for them to succeed with technology. Now, Vision 2030, a vibrant society, a thriving economy, an ambitious nation. I'm proud and thrilled that from its early days in 2016, I've been involved in this journey to the point today that I see everyone in Saudi and abroad talking about Vision 2030. It has really become a manifesto in the hearts, heads, and hands of the global community. Now, Vision 2030 obviously is also centered on diversifying Saudi's economy from a hydrocarbon-intensive economy into a more liberalized and diverse economy. What that means is that there is an ongoing focus on bringing up new industry sectors, a knowledge economy, a services-driven economy, a fourth and eventually a fifth industrial revolution. And so there's one too many sectors that the Saudi government is looking at. If you just look at this beehive over here, you can see just these 13 sectors, which is not exhaustive, is a list of areas where the government is putting fiscal stimulus and attracting foreign direct investment to drive the development of these sectors. We are here today to also understand how 5G enhanced connectivity and advanced technology helps with the transformation of these sectors. So on the one hand, you have the bold and beautiful Vision 2030, and on the other hand, is there the untapped potential of 5G enhanced connectivity. And you may be tempted to ask, which of these large number of sectors stand to reap the most dividend from technology the soonest? Now, if you look at these green colored boxes in this beehive, these are sectors which McKinsey estimates are going to drive the biggest potential for 5G-driven digital transformation of industries. And this is just potential coming from 4 sectors, which adds to about $2 trillion by the year 2030. Just making sense of those numbers, 2 trillions coming from just 4 sectors is roughly 1 to 2% of global GDP put together, and roughly 2.5 times Saudi's GDP today. So, as we can see, with the 4th industrial revolution, with $650 billion of digital potential driven by 5G, with the transportation and logistics sector, with the healthcare sector, and not to also talk about the retail and finance sector, which is also going to drive $700 billion of digital transformation potential worldwide. Now, many different countries of the world are going to reap this potential, and the front runners, the pioneers, are going to be the ones who bag the most of this prize the soonest. Lucky for us in Saudi, Saudi has been a front runner with 5G. Today, 5G traffic intensity, Saudi leads the world in terms of one of the largest traffic intensities driven by 5G networks. Just to also give you an idea as to what kind of use cases you would see in these sectors, about 65 to 70% of the potential is going to be from efficiency, from labor, asset, resource, productivity enhancements. And another 35 to 40% is going to come from revenue stimulation from these sectors. Now, in this talk today, we'd like to first double-click on one of these 4 sectors, or maybe a couple of these 4 sectors, to talk about how the Vision 2030 emphasizes what kind of imperatives exist for these sectors and the role of 5G enhanced connectivity in these sectors. We'll then also talk about what kind of challenges are in the way of this massive prize by the year 2030. And we'd like to conclude today, after the first 20 minutes, with a round of Q&A in the last 10 minutes. With that, I'd like to give it to Randy to walk us through some of these sectors. Randy.
Thank you, Ahmed. So as we go into each of the sectors, in terms of the slide structure, on the left is the key Vision 2030 imperatives. You'll see a few of them as it relates to healthcare. And then on the right-hand side is where you see the enhanced 5G connectivity value. Typically, some of the use cases and how 5G enhances and enables the transformation in each of these sectors. So if we look at healthcare and KSA, it's one of the most attractive sectors for strategic investments. KSA has a population of about 36 million people, of which 60% are under the age of 35. This young demographic is increasingly concerned today about their wellness and in the future. The healthcare sector in KSA also accounted for about 18% of the country's budget expenditure in 2021. This makes it the 3rd largest recipient of government funding. The government is also welcoming public-private partnerships as well as new business models to grow the strategic market. The government is also targeting 100% of the population to be covered by unified digital systems by the year 2025. And this allows cases such as telemedicine and remote healthcare to be made possible. Saudi is aiming to claim the majority of the sector's market share and become a regional hub for the medical technology. As we know, and for those of us who live in Riyadh, we see the current world-class medical facilities that exist today in Saudi, and many, many more that are being developed. On the 5G side, if we look at a few key use cases, so low latency and high densities of connected devices is made possible by 5G. This allows us to monitor patients remotely, at home, and in real time. This could be a major boon for the treatment of chronic diseases. If we move on to retail, today retail represents about 12% of the GDP in major cities like Riyadh. And we have retailers that are also already adopting a few of the use cases. They're using sensors, trackers, and more to manage their inventory right from the warehouse through their supply chain up onto their stores. This is enabled by 5G enhanced connectivity. On the mobility side, transport and logistics, we see transport is inherently widespread and dispersed, as well as fast moving, and requires advanced cellular infrastructure to support the digital use cases. 5G is a game changer for this. If we move on to another important sector, manufacturing. KSA is one of the fastest growing manufacturing sector at about 7.5% per year on average. There's a large market size supported by significant R&D facilities, government, modern infrastructure, and business-friendly regulations. If we look at IKTVA, or In-Kingdom Total Value Add, it's a new program created by Saudi Aramco to baseline measure and support increased levels of localization in the kingdom. $400 billion is earmarked for this. When we look at manufacturing and some of the use cases, we see manufacturing and other advanced industries can run highly precise operations using low latency and private 5G networks. Smart factories powered by analytics, artificial intelligence, and advanced robotics can run at maximum efficiency, optimizing and adjusting processes in real time. A growing number of factories today will incorporate features as autonomous robotics, autonomous guided vehicles, as well as quality control, monitoring, and tracking, enhancing their capabilities and efficiencies in these factories. I'll now hand over to Ahmed to cover a few trends in 5G as it relates to the industries, as well as the headwinds impeding the growth of 5G enterprise transformation. Ahmed?
Thank you, Randy. Now, let's talk about a few global trends which are putting fuel on fire on these markets. And some of those are listed on the left-hand side over there. As you can see, we are living in an increasingly hyper-connected world. By the year 2025, we expect to have, on an average, 7 connections per human. That's going to lead to a lot of traffic generation to the tune of around 363 zettabytes, which equates to about 6.92 megabits per connection per second. That data is not just a tsunami exploding on the networks, but also the new economy, where the data is going to be looked at for monetization, for making intelligent decisions, and so on and so forth. We also see how immersive reality is turning into a wildfire with the likes of Facebook and Microsoft contending to create a new generation of ecosystems and content landscape. And that's increasingly going to get merged with robots and cobots to give rise to virtual reality robots, which are going to transform the manufacturing, security, defense, and healthcare sectors. We also see that AI, with its automation, is increasingly going to displace jobs. So we expect that almost half of the jobs in the Western world are potentially up for disruption or displacement by AI by the year 2030. At the same time, we see that with these digital services, with connected cars, with smart factories, they increasingly rely on services which need very low latency, ultra-high reliability. They need the battery power to be optimized, for which reason the role of edge computing close to the users and close to the enterprises is becoming that much more paramount. And lastly, now here's a problem for the rest of the world, where 65 to around 84% of the demographic is going to age over 2032. But lucky for Saudi, half of the Saudi demographic today is less than 25 years of age. And we believe that this demographic has its own needs in terms of digital service adoption, as well as an increasing interest in personal wellness and digital healthcare. Now, as we look at the industrial landscape on the right-hand side, it's crucial to know that technology is always going to evolve. From 4G to 5G to 5G Advanced to 6G to edge computing, technologies and the building blocks are going to enable digital services. But it doesn't mean that it's a wait and watch. Digital services can get launched today with the infrastructure that's available today, and then new immersive, intelligent, autonomous, real-time features can be unlocked as the infrastructure becomes available over time. Now, we've talked about the potential, the trophy, the prize, the beautiful future, but also I think we should be balanced in our estimation of this transformation. And so let's also talk about a little bit about the risks at hand. And some of the headwinds facing this 5G transformation include, number one, the complexity of value chain orchestration. So you think about a V2X, a vehicle to infrastructure ecosystem, is replete with complexity between automobile OEMs, government entities, infrastructure providers, in terms of agreeing on standards. Similarly, we see that for service providers, value from certain digital services like augmented reality is scattered across a bunch of sectors. Say, for example, across manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and so on and so forth. Having said that, they're not specialized to the same extent in those sectors. And so the value is scattered and fragmented and calls the need for a cohesive and aggregate approach. The third big headwind is the asymmetry between the risk and reward. A lot of companies invest in this ecosystem, whereas companies which are leaner and closer to the customers reap the dividend inordinately. And so it's very important that for this ecosystem to work, there is symmetry between the risk and the reward profiles of the various ecosystem players. Data management, security, movement, protection is obviously front of mind of regulators. And in Saudi, luckily, we have the SDAIA very actively now regulating the data framework, just like the GDPR. And we hope that it's going to get contained over time. And then lastly, obviously, this transformation rests on infrastructure. And without the right kind of spectrum, data centers, investments into 5G networks, which need business case, which have its own timing, which have its own cycle, is going to be potentially a bottleneck as you go. So for the regulators to ease that is also something very important to keep in mind. Now, very quickly, if we talk to the enterprises who are transforming, they think that the hyperscale cloud providers, the likes of Google, Microsoft, and AWS, are their most preferred partners in this digital transformation journey. And as you can see, the service provider is a little down in the pecking order, which calls the need for these ecosystem players to come together and collaborate towards solution orchestration for the enterprises. Now, Ericsson is one of the mightiest purveyors of 5G-driven enterprise digital transformation today. We have our enterprise solutions pervading 25 countries, more than 25 countries, more than 20 telecommunications operators, and more than 100 ecosystem partners in various industries. Of the 200 plus enterprise contracts that we have today, we have expertise already in major industrial sectors like mining, ports, airports, manufacturing, and utilities. I would like to summarize our discussion with 3 broad takeaways. One, for whosoever wants to participate in this digital economy, it's important to clarify what's your digital strategy. What role in the value chain do you want to play? And consequently, what kind of capabilities you want to build. Secondly, it's crucial that you start mobilizing a go-to-market with some anchor and lighthouse customers and partners, and not wait until forever before you can start with that go-to-market. And then lastly, an assessment of your critical go-to-market capabilities, looking at the gaps and being able to fill those gaps either organically or inorganically is going to be crucial. We'd like to close here and open the discussion for Q&A. I would like to also encourage you to please visit ericsson.com/enterprise to understand and know more about our enterprise capabilities. We'd like to take this forum and this opportunity to inspire you with the mantra of this forum, which is one little step for man, but one giant leap for mankind. Let's tread boldly and with imagination in these new territories. I'd like to open the floor together with Randy for a round of Q&A, please.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Questions, we don't mind any kind of question. Please.
Hi, my name is Yasir Tufail. I'm the VP of Operations at King Abdullah Financial District. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I have a question about how you guys see a lot of what you've presented about 5G adapting to the existing asset base within Saudi Arabia. Because a lot of talk is about the new projects. That's a lot about the Vision 2030, but also the Vision 2030 talks about improving the quality of life and the asset base that already exists in the kingdom. So how do you see what you've presented fit into the here and now, as well as what's to come into the future? Thank you.
Very good question. I think 2 main things. There are brownfield assets, as you mentioned, scattered across the kingdom. And yet, there is infrastructure development happening on a greenfield basis, the likes of NEOM and so on and so forth. Yet, the Crown Prince himself has mentioned that the cost of building infrastructure in existing cities like Riyadh is 1/3 the cost of those greenfield deployments. And so on the one hand, there's an opportunity in these greenfield deployments to think about technology from day zero and not as an afterthought. But in terms of brownfield infrastructure, there's an opportunity to leverage IoT, sensors, to drive the gathering and collection of data, which when harvested, can help you understand your operation much better, make predictions, be able to stimulate more revenues, provide for a better, more safe and compliant operation. And so I believe that in a brownfield situation or with an existing infrastructure, the IoT use case and technology fits quite seamlessly yet it's not the answer to all the problems. As we were discussing before the presentation, it needs for an end-to-end view on those many different islands of information to be orchestrated to deliver insight and value towards decision making and towards streamlining your operation. Thank you. More questions? Ayub, you're never short of questions.
Just maybe if you can go to the slide around the industries that McKinsey showed. Maybe, I think it was the earlier one.
That's a money slide.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see telecommunications in here as one of the highlighted ones.
That's very good, and I think we highlight ICT as a building block. So
Okay.
ICT is going to be the bedrock of the transformation for these sectors. We don't have a number on there because a lot of value that you see over here is in way ascribed to digital infrastructure, which then feeds into ICT. But agreeably, we don't have a separate number for ICT yet. This whole premise is based on the role of 5G enhanced connectivity towards the digital transformation. So all of these numbers actually are driven by ICT technology.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. We have a couple of more minutes for any last questions. Okay. Randy, any parting comments?
I think firstly, thank you very much for joining us today at this presentation and the seminar. And we're really looking forward to partnering with you as well in various different initiatives and opportunities in the different sectors. And I think as Ahmed mentioned, it's important that you finalize and agree on what your strategy is and what your vision is in taking this forward. Thank you so much again. Happy leaping into a brave, bright, positive, and digital new future. Shukran.
Thank you very much.